Thank you for plugging into this Family Life News podcast, streaming issues-driven, family-focused news.
And welcome back to another edition of Issues in Education. Mondays during the Noon Report, we spotlight the issues that matter most to our public schooling families with the good Dr. Ralph Kerr at the Teaching and Learning Institute. Ralph, welcome back to the program, sir. We have much to discuss. We'll try to do it in 5 minutes here. Let's jump right in. The Biden administration went public last week with their plan to get schools reopened, the CDC issuing revised guidelines as well. It seems like every week there's revised guidelines for opening schools. There was a big court ruling in Buffalo that went against the teachers' unions, that the justice ruling schools can reopen. There's a big fight in Philadelphia still. San Francisco, Chicago schools finally open. Why is the Biden administration so hesitant, Ralph, to put the pressure on these big city teachers' unions and get the kiddos back in the classroom?
Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching.
That's the sound of money, right?
That's absolutely right.
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
It's so sad, really, that the teachers' unions, those around those cities that you mentioned, have paid so much money to the Biden campaign that the administration's really afraid to take them on because they were supportive financially. But, the other part of it, Bob, that really breaks my heart is that so many districts, particularly in the listening area here, both in New York and Pennsylvania, the teachers are back to work. They've been back from the first time they had a chance to go back. They're doing a great job, the best they can, in terms of either in-person learning or remote learning. And I think really teachers' unions are taking a bad rap, and in those big cities, they deserve it.
Yeah.
But, those same unions represent many of the teachers in the districts in the listening area, and I think it's really too bad that they're affiliated with those same unions, I guess.
Yeah. Well, hey, another big education announcement. America got a new education secretary. His name, Dr. Miguel Cardona, the former education secretary in the state of Connecticut. Tell us a little bit about this guy, who he is.
Well, I don't know a whole lot about him other than, as you said, he was the Secretary of Education in Connecticut, and as we all know, Connecticut's a pretty liberal state.
Yeah,
has that history, and I would think that we're going to see policies develop that you and I and many of our listeners are not going to be happy with. Certainly, a long way from the previous education secretary, who had shared a lot of the views that I have about public education.
Yeah, and you mentioned Connecticut because there was a court case in Connecticut while he was education secretary there that basically said boys cannot play girls' sports. Mr. Cardona, Dr. Cardona, was grilled on this at a recent Senate confirmation hearing by Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, and Cardona doubled down, saying transgender athletes will be allowed to compete in girls' sports. Huge debate right now in this country about how fair that is. Are you concerned that this could be the death knell for high school girls' sports in America?
I really am. I think that there's already some litigation about it. And that just from a very practical sense, and of course, people that, look to the Bible for guidance, I think, the Bible is really clear that men and women are made differently and we have different responsibilities. And to say that, transgenders can participate in girls' athletics, I think is just a big mistake.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of sports, we like to talk about it a lot, and it's a big part of the high school experience for sure. Section 5, which is where you are and which is where I am, runs from Rochester south to the southern tier border. They come out with postseason basketball rules for both boys and girls. Sectionals are going to be limited to 8 teams this year per class due to COVID. Your reaction to that move by Section 5 athletics?
I think that's absolutely ridiculous. If you're going to have playoffs, let everybody that may be entitled to play. I think, setting up these arbitrary limitations just hurt everything that we're about. I think I'm dealing with a little bit of COVID-19 frustration and fed-upness, if there is such a word.
Fed-upness. Well, if there isn't, we just made one up.
There you go. And I think we're just drawing arbitrary lines now. If boys and girls in school have played well and deserve a playoff, I think they should play off and be done with it.
All right, and that'll have to be the last word this week. It flies right by our time. But if you have any question about public or private education in New York State, Ralph, you have a wonderful website, sir. Where can folks check you out?
Thank you, Bob. It's simply yrun.org, yrun.org.